curious about, I don't know why this came up for me, but sewing in this tradition, in this path. And I would think that monks who live alone had to do a lot of things for themselves, including sewing robes. But was it ever gender specific?
Oh,
you know, the way it was maybe in this country during the Industrial Revolution, where women were seamstresses and sweatshops and.
Oh, sure. I mean, I've had a modern Japanese monk say to me when I said to him, "Well, you have a Dharma translation. Why don't you wear a brown robe?" He said, "Well, my wife's never sewn one for me." And I said, "That's not her job."
Right, I was just trying, you know, I
but
thought,
you know, that's...
what about in the monasteries? Would they also cook? Well, yeah, with Dogen and frictions of the cook. And
well, yeah, you know, in the Theravadan monasteries, of course, the monks, donors bring food to the monks. They don't cook for themselves.
Right.
And I don't know. There are instructions in the Vinaya, you know, the rules of conduct for monks. There are instructions about sewing.
What's this about?
Sewing in the case of. That's where this
we
modern tradition
comes from.
comes from is in the 17th century. A Japanese Vinaya monk is reading, I forget now which of the books of rules, and he read about making robes in this way. And so he worked at it till he got it what he thought they were talking about in the Vinaya, and made his robes that way. And then in the 20th century, early 20th century, some nuns who were studying in Nara visited his temple and saw his robes and made some robes for themselves. And then a monk who was rather an important monk in the Soto Zen tradition in the 20th century, Sawaki Kodoroshi, really there was a sort of a small group of monks in the Soto tradition who really made a big point of bringing Dogen's emphasis on Zazen as the center of practice back into Soto Zen tradition. It had become very much, you know, focused on doing rituals for people, because that's what people want monks to do for them, you know. And we need to do that, you know. Like, look how many memorial services Jana does. There's a function for ritual in people's lives, but Dogen Senji made a very big point that Zazen was the heart of our practice, and there was a monk at the turn of the 20th century named Fukusokan, and he had a disciple, Nishiran Bokusan, and Sawaki Kodoroshi, and another monk named Hashimoto Roshi were disciples, I think, of Nishiri Bokusan. And they each came to be the Godo, or the sort of main teacher for the monks at one at Eiheiji and one at Sojichi, the two head monasteries of Japanese Soto Zen. Well, Sawaki Kodoroshi, when he was younger, was in Nara, and he saw these nuns wearing robes made like this, and he said, where did you learn how to make a robe like that? And they told him about Chichen Sancha and his temple and the robes and so forth. And so he went and started studying them, and he then told his friend Hashimoto Roshi about it. And the two of them really promoted monks sewing their robes, each monk sewing their own robe, taking refuge in the triple treasure as they sewed, and so forth, and making these robes on the pattern of rice field.
Ah.
And I'll show you some photographs. And here is. Oh, I show you photographs in the book instead of the.
So did you? I'm sorry.
This is a rice field.
Catch
This is an actual
oh,
rice field.
in the form of a rice field.
This is an actual rice field. But these robes, and you'll see the robes that have stitching on them like this.
Mm-hmm.
You see how much?
Mm-hmm. They recall or they.
So these are like the patties, and these are the paths between.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the paths between, and these are the patties.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's naturally legends about it. There's a legend that King Bimbisara, who was a great admirer of the Buddha and his monks, was out riding, in his elephant train, and he was sitting up on his elephant, and he saw a holy man by the side of the road, and he stopped the whole train, and he climbed down off the elephant and went to pay his respects to this monk that he thought was one of the Buddha's monks, and it turned out he wasn't one of the Buddha's monks. And so the next time he saw the Buddha, he said, "Buddha, couldn't you have your monks wear some kind of robe I can tell who it is, so I don't have to climb down off my elephant every time that I see a holy man?"
Oh, so distinctive like a uniform. Okay.
I can tell your monks from these other sadhus India's full of. So then the story goes on that Buddha said, "Well, we'll try." So he and Ananda were out walking, and they stood on a hill, and they looked out at this rice field. And Buddha said, "Oh, look at that, Ananda! Isn't that beautiful? The rice is there. All the creatures there live in harmony together, and they provide food for everyone. Could we make our robe to look something like that?" And Ananda said, "Well, yes, Lord, I'll work on it." And so that's said to be how the robes have to be made this way.
Beautiful.